Welcome to this week's Fireside Chat with Jesse. I'm joined today by Shawn Arnone, Managing Director and Division President for Key Bank Equipment Finance. Thanks for joining me, Shawn.
Thanks for having me.
It's great to have you on the program again. I think you were one of the OGs. I wanted to say it was single digits, but I had to look it up this morning. You were episode 26, like five
Wow.
years ago.
Wow. Yeah, 5 years ago, I think it was a few houses ago. Same job, but well, different position, but same company, which is always a good thing.
Always a good thing, especially in this ever evolving world that we live in
Oh
today.
yeah, the musical chairs of equipment finance.
Uh, Shawn, for people who haven't had the pleasure of meeting you yet, and I'm sure there's not many that haven't, do you mind just kind of introducing yourself and kind of your career in equipment finance?
Sure, sure. So been around a long time, like you said. So I entered this industry by accident, like I think a lot of people you talk to in this industry. Back in 1992, and I started in a small little small ticket leasing company, doing credit and collections for fax machines and Toshiba Strata 12 phone systems. So it was a long time ago. And 32 years later, here I am. But did stints a lot of places. I primarily spent most of my career in the vendor space. So for I would say 32 of my 34 or 5 years in the industry, I was in vendor, wholesale vendor, retail vendor, every flavor in between that. And been back at Key now for I think 11 years. Did a stint from 2000 to 2005, left. Didn't really want to relocate at that time and still haven't relocated, but came back to Key in 2015. And since joining, kind of spent time in vendor, tech side, the, every vertical we were in, then took on the responsibility of Key Government Finance. And then we, made the pivot back in 2024, and kind of went a new direction for Key where vendor wasn't a strategic, path for us. And we wanted to focus on relationships, wanted to focus on bank clients, and that's where we are today. But still have Key Government Finance, and now I also have the responsibilities of our capital markets team.
I was going to say, getting Shawn Arnone to leave North Jersey, not that.
It's rough. It's rough. There's a few places I would go, Jesse. There are a few places I would be enticed to. Warm climates,
Hey, I was
Uh,
telling you beforehand, it's nice. It's nice here.
yeah, 116, 115 is a little too warm, but maybe the east coast of Florida could pull me down there. There's some spots there I would be happy to maybe spend a lot of time down with.
All right, well, let's have to make sure we show this to the missus. So it'll be fine.
Yeah, yeah.
It'll be fine. It'll be fine. Well, that's great, Shawn. Thank you for sharing there. So you were with so banks, independents,
Yep,
over your 32 years.
yep.
Start off credit in collections, worked
Yeah.
your way up. For people watching this, what advice would you give to somebody just kind of getting in the industry today?
Yeah, I mean, I tell this a lot of folks that I talk to, or some folks that I mentor, and in this industry, I think there are two things, and is you enter the industry and you exit the industry the same way, with enthusiasm, with integrity, with authenticity, and you kind of, keep that going for you, the whether you're going to stay in it or whether you're going to leave it and then come back to it or just leave it permanently. And I tell us, you kind of, treat everybody with respect, because you will come across those folks again in this industry, regardless of where you're working. You will come across folks, and I've had the same, core group of friends in this industry, and several colleagues and acquaintances that I continue to stay in touch with, and these have been lifelong friendships, and you being one of them, a few other folks. I mean, I know you now for I think 20 something years, maybe
Yeah.
18, 20. So
No,
yeah,
this is my 21st year. So at least
yeah,
at
those
least
type of things.
11, 11 of your 32 we've gotten to
Yeah,
work with each other.
yeah. So yeah, I would just say, it's never burn a bridge. Kind of keep those relationships, and keep that integrity you came in with, and just keep your head down, do your job, and things really work out.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Another nugget I want to just talk on is if you started off on the credit and collection side,
Yeah.
like, I know younger kids nowadays are like chasing titles and everything else, but I think in order truly to appreciate equipment finance, you kind of got to know how the sausage is made.
Oh
So,
yeah, back then I would call in the morning. I would call 0 to 30 delinquent accounts, and then in the afternoon I would pull banking trades and look at the TRW reports on personal guarantees on these phone systems and thermal fax machines that we were financing. So it was old school.
now, was your Northeast your territory back then?
Pretty much, yeah. It was a small company called Sequa Credit Corporation, and they were pretty much operating in New Jersey, New York, Long Island. Yeah, so it was definitely a smaller regional. Sun Chemical owned a piece of the company, so it was a larger organization, but it was this small group of folks in this little and actually one of my dearest friends in the industry, who I've started with, we're still best friends today. So it's 40, 34 years, whatever. I actually think we know each other 40 years, so it's probably a little longer.
That's crazy. And then it was so door to door sales in New York, going doing some B2B stuff in a suit. Like,
It literally is right. You put a suit on, you got a book and a Rolodex, and you call and you would just go try to finance a fax machine with one of and it wasn't there were no we weren't in the manufacturer. We were at the dealer level back then. So it was these small little dealers operating out of a storefront in Lower Manhattan, and next to a dry cleaner, and you'd be like, all right, let's grab this fax machine, let's walk over to this law office and try to sell a fax machine, and then you finance it. And back then it was lease rate factors. It was 36 months FMV with a lease rate factor. That's all you did all day long.
perfect. And you just
Yeah,
time it so you make sure you had happy hour at the right place that you wanted to have happy hour at.
yeah,
So,
yeah. And those,
yeah,
you know,
yeah,
those days when
yeah.
your boss was looking for you, they wanted you out of the office after the morning huddle and not don't come back until 4:30 or 5. So there were days when you didn't have appointments. So you take an afternoon movie in, or whatever. You had to fill the day.
It's sales. You know what you have to do, right? It's like,
Yeah,
I'm good. I want to work from 8 to 11 today. Then I might go golf. Leave me
yeah.
alone. I'm more effective that way.
And there was no such thing as working from home back then. There were no such thing as, a home-based office. You were in a place every day. If you weren't on the road, you were in the office. So it was different.
So thinking back to that, and sorry to kind of be
Yeah.
all over the place here. My first sales job was Yellow Book, Transwestern Publishing,
Wow. Yeah.
in New York,
Sure.
those small regional books. So it's like, I had a little recorder, you see a business go by, you talk
Yep.
on it, you go back, you write everything down, make a phone call and whatever else. And now I think of technology,
Oh,
fast forward 20 years, right? And you're just like, huh,
yeah.
well, this system just wrote this email for me. It just gave me these qualified leads. That's all these things. So
It-
I guess what are your thoughts on like the sales just evolution?
yeah. Yeah. I mean, well, I always say, sales will never be replaced by AI. The tools we use and the things we do will become more efficient for us. But, that human interaction, that being able to sit across a table and read someone and understand what, you need to say to get the sale, and quite frankly, just ask for the sale. I think that will never be replaced, but I do think that we're heading into or we're in a an era now that you will have the tools you will need to kind of be more efficient, more effective, and I think that's great. I'm trying to learn these things. I'm trying to kind of figure them out. I actually,
It's hard. It's hard, but hopefully you
oh,
can hide behind the bank firewall and say
yeah.
Copilot can only do so much because they're not going to give you access to like,
Yeah.
OpenAI and Claude and some of that stuff. So that's good. That's good. But
Yeah.
it is amazing, like to your point, how much more efficient.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
I think of like statements of work or just like I leveraged it a couple weeks ago because I was on the phone with like an EF division starting
Mhm.
with a bank getting in. And it's like, oh, okay, we want to introduce you to the bank CTO. And I'm like,
Yeah.
dude, like I'm like, okay. So I went and looked him in there through his LinkedIn profile in there, and then I said, look, give me 5 questions I should be prepared to ask for, or 5 things I should,
Yeah.
ask him. And sure enough, it helped me
Oh,
like
yeah.
to a T.
Yeah.
focus on what I need to focus on, which was great because our personalities, based on our relationships and who we
Yep.
are, it allows us to get away with more, I think, from just because we have more charisma.
Yeah.
But with certain people reading them, I'm sure you run into that all
Oh,
the time where you're
absolutely.
just like, oh my God, that person was brutal.
Well, and not only that, but Jesse, I sometimes write like I talk. I'm a Northeast guy. North Jersey. Um, I can get by, but sometimes when you're writing to certain people, you really want to kind of clean that up, tighten it up, make it, polished. Uh, so that in and of itself in AI has been just, absolutely, a game changer in terms of what's happening. But it's going to kick, drag, and screen everybody into it, regardless of whether you want to embrace it or not. It's funny. I think we talked about this. We used to go to these events all the time 20 years ago, and it was a bunch of white-haired, older gentlemen there. The beauty of this industry is there's still white-haired older gentlemen, obviously, in the industry, but it's diversified so more. We have more, diversity than I've ever seen before. It's so much younger than it's ever been. And I think that's incredible. And I think having these tools with this younger generation really embracing them and dragging us, the older generation, to them, it's awesome. It's great.
See, now I would pay for an Outlook extension that gave me Shawn Arnone's vernacular on reading an email. Fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you've seen it a few times at some of the restaurants we've been to. Yeah, it's quite the thing.
Fantastic. As long as you don't give you and I a menu and say
Yeah.
order up.
Yeah, that's a danger, especially when one of us aren't paying. If you give us that menu and say, you know what, you guys are the guests, take care of this. That's a dangerous thing to do.
And to that, when you see Peter's face, like, wait, what's going on? You guys have a menu? It's like, yeah.
Yeah, he's had a few dinners with me where he's been in awe, but
No, he just sit back because he knows he's going to eat well. It's like, just
yeah,
sit back, relax. We
and
got this.
he's a trooper for it. He does it well. So it's we kind of play that off each other. So he just sits back and enjoys what I'm gonna about to do.
Fantastic. So, I mean, 5 years ago, I think of all the things that have changed. I mean, we're what, just coming out of COVID.
Yeah.
So how has this industry evolved besides some of the technology that we've already talked about? Like, are you seeing, I guess, just kind of like overall trends, Shawn, where you see things are going?
Yeah.
You know,
It's funny. I talked about this a while ago, and there was, in my opinion, for a while there was the rise of the independents. They were, the rate environment ticked up. The independents that were smart, kept rates stable where they were, not to even tick up more. And they definitely made an impact and filled a big void in the industry. It was important for them to do that. And some did really well in the vendor space, and I think continue to do well there. It's not a space that you can dip your toe in the water or you want to be in it. You got to be all in, and it is a rewarding space. And if you get the right vendors and the right team, it's an amazing place to be. But I don't see many doing it well. There's very few. So I think there's a big void still in the vendor space. I think
hmm,
folks really capitalize there. But I would say now that the rate environment it's fluctuating, but it has come down and it's stabilized. It jumps here and there. I think that the banks are back in it, but I do think a lot of banks realize that the way to go was to have a relationship with your client and then bring more products into that client. So there's not a lot of banks that wanted to stay in the vendor space. So that's the void I see, but I do see some folks doing it well. I think more folks need to step up. Back in the day, Jesse, when I started, you signed an exclusive vendor agreement. You were first right of refusal. You were the only lender in there, and then you had a few blowups, and now you're in this world where if you need 4 or 5 different vendor partners or funding partners there. Some folks have gone a little crazy, put 10, 12, 15, some of these manufacturers, some of these dealers where it's just a shotgun approach, and that's never good for anyone. But if you do it well as a bank or an independent, and you're one of 4 or 5, and you serve a niche, and then you could kind of, you know, go in the peripheral of that niche and do a few other things there, you'll do extremely well. But that's kind of where I think there's opportunity. And I think that you'll see more and more folks try to do it better. There's definitely I think folks on the equipment side that do need that. So we'll see what happens there, but it's changed. I mean, the industry my career's changed, the industry has changed, but for the most part, I think the bread and butter of it is still there. It's just now you got to adapt and change.
Sure. That's just cyclical across any business,
100%.
really. And then, I just every time I hear about a new company, we probably name 4 or 5 of them that are just
Yeah.
kind of getting going right now, and they're all going after, in my opinion, the same thing, where it's like
Yeah.
large ticket, and it's almost
Yep.
like between some of the private money coming in,
Yep.
and some of those big investment funds coming in, like how many more large ticket clients, the companies do we really need?
Yeah. And I think, that is the funny part about it is, these clients, they come in, they all want the same thing. Sooner or later, they'll all consolidate and there'll be one or two or three left under one or two or three different private equity type of scenarios, or they'll spin off. So it's going to be interesting. That's what I'm interested to watch. I'm interested to see what happens there because there will be an event. And I think it will be positive for the most part, but it's going to be something to watch, and I'm sure papers will be written about it. So it's interesting to see what will happen there, but it's happening. Yeah, and to your point, when's the last time you heard somebody say, "Hey, we're getting into the small ticket vendor space"? I mean,
The Elm Blue guys, I
right,
think probably, and then the new
right.
what Fox. What was the new thing that
Um, uh, I just read
yeah,
about.
they're up in Portsmouth. It's the original Ascenium guy, I
So
think.
yeah, some incentive
Name's
guys, some of the old direct
Tom.
capital folks. Yes, yep,
Yeah, yeah. So that's where I was just like, huh,
yeah,
okay, I'll shut up because there's finally
yeah.
maybe one
But
there.
But that's just it. There's not a lot. And the reason why it takes time, it takes money, and it takes people to do that. Now, what we said before, will technology change that game? Will technology be able to, yes, we had in the past the portals and the homegrown, systems that people had auto score, but is technology going to be able to take that space, change it, where you get a few good people with a few good contacts, and then you lump in technology, and then you become, because that's where the spread is. That's where the churn is. It's a pipe that just keeps getting built.
Yeah, and it's just repetitive. Like, how do
100.
you? Yeah, what
Rinse
are you
and
doing with all that
rinse and
stuff?
repeat. Yep, rinse and
Yeah,
repeat.
yeah, yep. And then you talk to some of these middle ticket guys, like, I'm not touching that. I
Yeah,
don't want
no, and
anything.
I and rightfully so. It's not for the faint of heart. It's like I don't want any of that.
That's the best part about like what I do when I'm talking to like the capital markets people. And I'm like, what about this? They're like, nah.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
what do you mean nah?
Yeah. Well, you know what it is now that I run our capital markets team, you see that the same amount of work goes into a 50 or $100,000 deal that goes into a $5 million deal. So you're like, unless you're set up for it. I mean, if you're set up for it where everything's automated, completely different world. But if you're not and you're, kind of just dancing in that little space for a little bit, it's the same amount of work. So, why
And
do
I
it?
and I and I think that's one of the challenges, and that's where, from a consult disrupt perspective, we've been thriving. Is when
Yep.
you get these people, and it's like, look, it's like you need to churn this faster, or if you can make credit decisions faster, just less FTEs.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
people are just like,
Unfortunately,
oh, well,
yeah. And when we talk about, AI replacing people, that's where you'll see some replacement, not on the sales side, but on the maybe in the underwriting world and in some of the documentation type stuff that can be written through AI. And, so we'll see where that goes. But it's it'll be interesting to see where this all shakes out. And it's going to shake out. It's just a matter of time.
sure. And then I think we will have another, what, 3 to 5 years before you see someone be like, I mean, you saw at the end of last year how many retirements were
Yeah.
happening with
Yeah.
people that you knew, that I
Oh,
knew.
yeah.
And
Sure.
I think that's going to continue to get
100%. Yep.
more.
Yeah, you know
And
what? Your world will get a little bit more crowded because a lot of the retirees will leave their roles, probably want to do some consulting, and there'll be a lot that will just leave and be like, "I'm done. I'm
no, they
I'm
reach
out."
out to, they reach out. They're like, "Oh, can I?" I'm like, "Dude,
Yeah,
it's just
yeah, yeah.
like,
No.
like
Eh,
they're like, well, but like you're selling for me. All I have to, I'm like, no, go
yeah,
sell for
yeah,
yourself. This
yeah.
is not. Everyone thinks they want to be a consultant. I'm like, stop.
Yeah, they bottle up that institutional knowledge, and now they're just go out and sell it. And yes, there's knowledge out there. I mean, think about some of the legends that have retired in the last 5 years. I mean, think of what they've
Yeah,
been done. They've forgotten more than most of us know. So it's pretty amazing if you could tap into them. But the ones that kind of walked away and just said, you know what, yeah, I'll do it you give me a phone call and I'll tell you about it. I'm that's not going to go back in and carry a pitch deck and kind of sell my wares. So it's tough. It's tough.
I just laugh because I'm like, just
Yeah.
the next topic I was going to say was just industry travel,
Yeah.
and just kind of like how your life has evolved over time.
Yeah.
And you and I ran into each other at a golf event a couple
Yep.
weeks ago. You're probably like, why? You probably like, why are you here? And I'm like, "Oh,
Why are
I
you
probably know, I probably know why you're here."
here?
But, so, but it's just, how has that kind of evolved throughout
Yeah.
your um, journey?
Well, I think we went through the era of COVID and expense reduction and everything being done on Zoom or Teams, and you know, I was never a fan of that. I think sitting across from somebody, whether it's a sales call, or it's a social event, it's a industry event, I think
Mhm.
it's critical. But it has changed. I think less people want to travel. I think folks that have gotten accustomed to doing Zoom and video meetings that embraced it like it. I'm still old school. I like to travel. Last year I was, our office is in Superior, Colorado, and then the banks in Cleveland. Between the two, I think I was in one of those locations every month for at least 4 or 5 days. Customer events you add in, and I go into our office in Manhattan a lot. So I still enjoy traveling, but as you get older, it's never the same, But like we talked about, I think a while back, you stick with the same hotel brands and the same airlines, and you kind of do that. But I see less. I see less of the younger generation coming into this industry travel. And I'm hoping that changes. I think more companies should send younger folks to the ELFA events and the NIFA events and the Equipment Finance Cares events when you have them. I think they should get out there. I think it's invaluable for them to meet folks, to network, and to just hear what's happening. So I hope that it changes. Um, like I said, our group that we know, that you always see them at the events. I'd love to see a little bit more new faces out there.
No, I agree. I mean, I think the challenge that some of these people have is they've become so efficient in their own little bubble that
Yeah,
they really don't want to expand. And the challenge that you have is once, life hits you or something happens or there's that life event, you need to be
yeah,
able to adapt. And I'm kind of seeing that now with some people that have been out of work longer
yeah,
than they have been because they haven't put in that time.
yeah.
So,
And I think some of the socialness I think that what COVID did to us, not only with our generation, my generation, and but the younger generation and the one in between, I think it gave people the excuse not to be in front of everybody, send an email or leave a voicemail. And that always drove me crazy, leading sales teams that people are sending emails and voice. I ask, and what's going on with this account or this deal. Well, I sent an email. That used to send me in. Like, why aren't you on a phone at the least, at the very least, but get on a plane and go visit them and ask them what's going on, like, so yeah. But I think it's given some folks, you know, that okay to just do it that way.
and I guess while we're on that topic of just communication with clients and so on and so forth, um, the where was I going with this? My TV, like for some reason, just decided to.
Oh yeah, so I saw it change. I'm like, oh, it's a nice picture now.
Yeah,
I thought
yeah,
maybe
yeah.
Rory was in the
Yeah.
background putting some Disney Channel on or something.
You know what? It would not surprise me now that school is out. It does not surprise me. So sorry for the lack of
No, no
professionalism there,
worries.
but you know what? It's just I don't like it's. I told her I was like, look, I got a call in like 45 minutes. Just waiting for her to stick around and be like, is it
Yeah.
done? And I'll be like, "No, come on, kid, come on." But anyhow, I think we might just look at some flowers for the rest of
Yeah, it's
this. But
perfect. It's beautiful. A
whatever.
little is that Monet, I think there. It looks perfect.
Uh,
That I don't know. It changed again. So that looks like some resort that you might have been to with a pool in the background, if I could see it correctly. I don't have my glasses on.
What are you talking about? That's my backyard.
There's a little Tuscany for you.
Uh, but yeah, I think you're right. I mean, people. I mean, oh, where I was going with this was the whole communication methods with clients and prospects.
Mhm.
Like, you know, shame on me. I don't pick up the phone as much as I used to.
Yeah.
And I think it's just because I've gotten into this whole like head down, focus, gotta go. Every now and then I'll make a phone call.
Yeah.
But then again, like when I see when people call me and it's not a scheduled call, I'm kind of like, what's going on?
Yeah.
So the text message, like it's amazing how many people I text.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I don't know,
Well,
I don't know if that's
yeah.
is it crossing the professionalism line? Like I don't know, as a bank, are you guys allowed to text
Yeah,
clients?
yeah, no, as long as
Okay.
we're not, on the regulated side, like our KBCM folks, they have to, they can't really be on text. But yes, we can text. It can't be, obviously nothing confidential. But listen, I do find myself texting a lot. I think it's quick, it's easy, but that's just for a quick answer. If I need to convey something or I want to try to figure out what's happening, I want to hear your voice. I want to look in your eye if I possibly can. I mean, hearing your voice is definitely a plus, but a plus plus would be sitting across from you. But it's
Sure.
yeah, it's not. I think that I tell everyone, everyone that works for me, we're not in the business or we're not in the space where you're going to fill your Salesforce call log up easily because we're dealing with the same clients all the time, whether it's on the key government finance side where we still have one vendor program, but yeah, we also have we deal with municipalities and state and local government and county and stuff like that. So you're not calling that person 15 times a week. So, but what I do tell folks, once a week, once every other week, call them. You don't have to ask about business. Call them and say what's going on in your family. What's happening with the weather there. Oh, what about this sports team? Like to me, contact touching a client doesn't always have to be about a deal or a problem or update. Just touch the client somehow, some way, and ask them about their day. I mean, you don't realize how long that goes. Being in the vendor space, that's what it taught me because in vendor, you're not calling XYZ at this company 20 times a month. He's like, I just told you that, or I just told. So, but you could call them once a week, twice a month, and ask them what's happening with their daughter in college or their son in his studies, or in his sports team, or it's. I think that's the way we have to do things.
And I just wonder if that lack of detail, if
Yeah,
the next generation has it. I'm not trying to sound like I'm that old or whatever
yeah,
or like that, but
yeah,
um, when we got before we hit record here, you knew how old Jeremy was, and you pretty much nailed Rory's age too.
yeah.
So it's just like, you know, who,
Yeah, I don't, Jesse. I sometimes I look back and I say like, there's certain things that can't be taught, in anything. In sports you can't teach speed, and you really can't teach a salesperson how to read somebody. They just have to know how to do it. But I think that can be taught. It's an easy thing. Hey, even if you have to put a reminder on your phone or have AI tell you, hey, call 3 people this week and ask them about their lives. I don't know, but I think that it sounds so simple, and I think it's so simple, but maybe it's hard for people to do. I don't know. I was just brought up that way. Like you keep contact, you're always talking, you're always, touching that lead, that contact, that count, that you just do it.
top of mind, man, top
Yeah.
of mind. And then
Oh, out of
anytime they
mind,
need
out of sight,
something,
out of
yeah,
mind is very, very big thing in my world. I even tell that to my daughter. She's in a job search, and I tell her, "You're out of sight, you're out of mind." And you talk to somebody, you haven't talked to them in a week, call them back the next week and just say, "Hey, I just called you to see how things are." You don't have to ask for any, just call.
yeah. Frankie's taking the world by storm, but we don't
Yeah,
have time. We don't have time to get all that. And
yeah. Yeah, but we do talk about that a lot. By storm is your definition. A dad's definition is like, hey, when are you going to get an employee number and a 401k?
What are you talking about?
Yeah.
Never mind. Never mind. Never mind. Never mind. I'm about to deal with that soon. Where I'm talking with
Oh
Jeremy
yeah.
coming back from a baseball game. I'm like, so college next year? He's like, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
come on, man.
Yeah. That's the other difference now is people are really weighing is does college make sense? What am I going to get for my, even if you go to a state school, you're still paying some decent money. But if you send your kid to a private school and you spend 70, $80,000 a year, you're like, what am I getting for that 320 grand at the end of it all? And you hope they do it in 4 years and they don't do it in five.
Yeah. I think we could go down a whole different rabbit hole
Oh
in
yeah.
this
Yeah, it's
conversation.
completely
Sure.
different.
But I guess I'll the last topic I wanted to go in on, Shawn, was the Equipment Finance Cares golf outing.
Yes.
So thank you for your generosity. I mean, I think you came to us. I mean, after we did our first one, shoot, 5 years ago, you were like, I want to host one at our country club in Rockland, and
Yeah.
this is our fourth
Yeah.
um, tournament we have coming up. By the way, we'll be reaching out probably next
Yep.
week.
Yep.
Blair and Kirsten are already starting, but it's amazing now. I don't think I have to chase
Yeah.
foursomes. I think
No.
they're pretty
Oh,
much
and
already going to
and
be
and
sold out.
and the team you put together, Blair, and they are so spot on. I mean, we run some events at our club. We don't run a lot because we keep it, pretty. But the assistant general manager said that there's no organization that is more organized and decisive and just a pleasant group to have there than Equipment Finance Care. So it's a win-win on both sides. It's a great event.
I mean, we might put some dents in the bar, but outside of that,
Listen,
not the worst group to
you
have.
know, yeah, that's not the worst thing. 1 year we broke out the shot ski, that might have been a little bit. That might have been a little bit, but hey, everybody enjoyed it.
You know what? I don't think they came and complained to us. I think we were golfing
Yeah.
together. So
No, but now that the golf course is open, the pool's open for a quote unquote beach pool day. I mean, it's becoming a bigger event than we ever thought. I mean, and we're gonna soon add in a tennis tournament, and we'll kind of encompass it all.
not a bad idea. However, you're probably gonna get some people to be like, oh, we want pickleball
Pickleball,
instead.
huh? Yeah, we don't.
Yeah.
We've been debating that. I'm on the board of the club. We've been debating that back and forth. It's a noisier sport, and we don't have a lot of room for it. We could put them here or there, but they would be like right by a tee box, and people don't want to hear that clicking all day long. So
Sounds
it's
like a business idea.
yeah,
Make a
yeah,
noise free ball. Come on,
noiseless, yeah, noiseless
come on.
balls and paddles and pickleball. There you go. Oh God.
Uh, that's great. Well, I appreciate your generosity,
Yeah.
Shawn, when it comes to hosting that. And excited, for our fourth annual one we have coming up here in August.
Yeah. It's going to be a great event. We're looking forward to it. And like you said, yeah, we're at a point now. I remember the first year, Jesse, we were saying, all right, we got to fill this foursome and that foursome. Now I think we're oversubscribed every year, and that's a really good problem to have.
Great problem to have. I think I might be a free agent this year. Just drive around the golf cart. Wasn't sure.
I,
Depending
I
on
was
depend.
thinking the same
Let me
thing.
know. We can sit there and do you want us to come and mess up your shot? Like we can do that
Yeah,
too.
I was thinking the same thing. We'll just go around and heckle folks and maybe hit a shot.
Okay. All right. Awesome. Well, Shawn, it's great having you on here again,
Yeah.
sir. It's great seeing you over the last couple of weeks, and look forward to seeing you at EF Cares, and congratulations on a successful career in equipment finance, sir.
Yeah, I appreciate it, Jesse. It was great to be on again. In 5 years, let's not wait 5 years again. We'll do another one. We don't want to overdo it, but we'll do another one whenever you want.
All right, that sounds great, man. I appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, my friend. Talk to you
All right,
soon.
all right, all right. Take care. Bye.